Well, greetings everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of MBTV News, formerly known as Metaworld News, and sometimes still known as Metaworld News when I slip up or don't care really. MBTV News today is 27th of August, and this show will be featuring links and sort of various news highlights and stuff for the week ending today, 27th of August. Very light week actually, and even Charlie Fink last week said, "Oh, it's a light week." You know, seems to be a downtime for any kind of serious news, which is the sort of stuff we cover. But we got a few tips, you know, and sort of roundup sites and stuff to mention. What we look at here is the world of virtual worlds and immersive spaces online, and also a bit of interfacing because you can't get to them without a suitable interface for one thing. But you know, the way we interact with those worlds and indeed our computers in general is quite pertinent, really, to everything that goes on. So, my name is Mal Burns, and I'm joined in the studio here by my tech wizard who does. I'm always rude. I say he's fiddling with all these knobs, isn't he? But the knobs are the video, switching video angles and inputs and sound and everything else like that, and having a chat with us now and again too. So, welcome, James, if you
Oh,
will,
thanks,
folks.
Mal. Yeah, and you could say things much worse than twiddling with knobs, so I have no problem. It's very funny.
Yeah, well, it's going to happen anyway. I'm trying
Yeah.
to find out where my I've got a yeah.
Oh, there you go. All right. Oh,
So there we go. A
that sounds like.
13. It's a 13-second applause.
Oh my
For
goodness.
James. Now that's not quite a standing ovation, but it's pretty damn good if you
That's
ask
pretty
me, and
good.
it's on repeat as well. So better shut that one off. Okay, okay. Yeah, you still get the skull goes, no but
Well, and I get the. I have some shorter audience.
yes, that's more like it.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
I like the sympathies. I don't
Oh,
like
okay. Okay.
the other one was like a laughter. You know, you hear that and think I'm not being funny.
And then when you say something shocking, got
Oh,
the
that's nice.
gasp.
Yes, yes,
Right.
yeah. So anyway, hereinafter I would deliver a stream of expletives.
Hmm.
But it didn't happen, so they didn't react, did
It
they?
didn't.
Oh, never mind,
Oh.
never mind. Okay, I said my name is Mal Burns. You probably know that already. I know at this point I normally tell you how to find me on Twitter because that's where all the links I post are for this show. But Twitter doesn't exist anymore, as you probably know. And I still haven't got my verbally got the handle right for saying you can find me on X. It just doesn't seem
Just
right.
doesn't flow off the tongue.
Yeah,
Right.
and when I actually would go, I used to tweet things, and now, of course, I can't tweet it. I have to exit, which is exactly what I've done. So most of my stuff is at Mastodon, but I would say that if you follow me on Twitter and now follow me on X, Mal Burns, MALBURNS at Mal Burns, is the place to go for all my links. And um, all my Mastodon feeds of relevance anyway get reposted to Twitter. So for the moment, until the Musketeer sort of slices that channel off, which could happen any day, for the moment you can still find me there. But otherwise, you can find me at MetaWorld on Mastodon Social and Mal Burns on Vivaldi.social. And both of those merge if you can find me on the X, in the X files, or the X place, or the exaggerated, pompous person's place. Yeah. Anyway, so you can follow the links. The ones I read out to you often will only take you to a front page or something. So that's why I like to promote the Twitter channel. Anyway, so moving on. As I said, we've got nothing much to talk about this. This week. That never seems to stop me, does it? But okay, I'm going to do two offline videos first. One is a promo for I guess it's an online studio facility. The video is just called "How Could a TV Studio Look in the Metaverse?" And I thought that's appropriate, isn't it,
Oh
for us?
yeah.
All 40 seconds of it, and actually the avatars aren't bad. It's probably better than the one I'm wearing here, but I forget what it's called, but you'll see the logo and then start playing it, which is 3, 2, 1, no. Archive, that's it.
Hmm. They look similar to Ready Player Me avatars.
Oops. Sorry, I lost it. That was due to a pop-up.
Hmm.
Yes, it does have that look. Uh,
They got the awkward walk right.
Yeah, maybe Ready Player Me. I don't know. I suspect what this. I've yet to look up Archive itself to see if I can find out more. But it looks to me like it's an installation of a TV studio
Mm-hmm.
on some platform or other, and presumably they hire this TV studio out to people that want to use it. That's the look I get, and obviously they provide personality profiles and visual avatars and stuff
Right, right.
to help you do the show. I can't say, there's actually didn't seem to be too much about that actual set. That one couldn't build an open sim or Second Life if one put one's mind to it. But
Well, and I think our Sansar set is more set looking than that was.
yeah, yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, the advantage, I mean, I didn't mind it. It just wasn't very exciting, and it was, one screen here, video screen here, another screen. It was. Uh, it felt like something off a shelf,
Mm-hmm.
as
Mm-hmm.
studios go. Anyway, okay, I have one more clip here which I couldn't resist. It's actually a few weeks old, but the news item announcing this uh, came separately. But Vertigo Games are bringing out a 3D version. In other words, you can use it in one of your helmets. Of well, I've never been a game player, but there were two things. One was when Myst first came out, which was a Mac exclusive for a long while, and the other one, which was something else I had on CDI at the time, as well as there was a Mac version, and that was called The Seventh Guest. Now
Mm-hmm.
it seems so old now, but the puzzles they released some of the puzzles on iPads and things in later years, but they've now remastered it as like a real VR environment, and I'm a bit shocked. I read the reviews and they said, oh, they've just sort of converted it into a wonderful 3D thing of the original game. But there's so much in just this 1 minute clip that I don't remember. Well, it wasn't in the original game. It's just totally changed the idea. You don't just land in the hallway of a house anymore. You get to it from outside, and lots of outside stuff apparently. So
Mm-hmm.
this is lovely.
It's you. Don't be afraid. I'm here to help. There are many like me here, trapped in this house. Each night, the guests arrive.
Scout, what do you want? Show yourself!
Well, that wasn't James's sound
2023.
effect, by the way.
No, no, that
I,
was
I,
good.
used, I used to love this game, but to be honest, the puzzles are great to solve, but I didn't recognise anything there except the house itself. And even so, even of course, a lot of the end stuff. I won't give the game away, but in the old game, a lot of the end stuff happens in an attic, and I'm sure there's more than 3 floors. There's only 3 floors in this model. I don't know. I'm not nitpicking. It looks good. So I'm hoping there'll be a screen version too, which employs all that lovely movement and stuff.
Yeah,
It's not enough to get me to buy a helmet. That's just not happening. But you know, trip down memory lane there. So I thought we'd feature that. Okay. No other videos offline to show you, but I guess we'll go to the magic reader view in Safari here and look at the things from the week. And hello. Oh, okay. Right, okay, we'll start where I normally start and head the other way, I think. Okay, August 22nd, beginning of the week. This is the Scar Ghost, of course. Cue the music.
Whoops.
Oh,
Sorry.
that's fine. That's
My bad.
okay. That's okay. Scar Ghost is obviously in a hurry to get somewhere, revving
Yep.
up and ready to go. If I didn't know better, I'd say that picture has something to do with a machine. Okay, the XR Week Peak is this beginning of the week roundup. Talking about VR chat, I've got an Android alpha that's been released. Kinect, I didn't even know Kinect was still around, but
I
apparently
didn't
Kinect,
either,
they're
honestly.
marketing it. They've still been marketing it for Asia,
Yeah.
which is why they're professional level things. Anyway, they've discontinued it. A lot of people sobbing about that.
Yeah.
Not so
Yeah.
much that they make great use of it, but the fact that it's a very fond memory, the various incarnations it's had. Um, Anyway, you'll find all this roundup at scarredghost.com, SKARREDGHOST.com. And Scarred Ghost in reality is a chap called Anthony Vitillo. But he goes by the Scarred Ghost moniker. He seems to enjoy himself playing that part, so to speak. He's had a pleasant week, he says. On the 15th, he celebrated the 7th birthday of this the blog, scarredghost.com.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yep, it's been around a while, but longer than I would have remembered, oddly enough. But you know, I guess he was sort of fairly low key in the beginning. You know, and he says he's been mentioned on Forbes by the amazing Charlie Fink. So he thanks you all for the love you made me feel that day. I'm still blushing. Quack, quack, quack.
Oh,
Okay, moving down. Top news of the week from him. VR Chat has an alpha version that works on Android, or tries to work on Android. I don't know which. I'll leave you to judge that for yourselves if you use Android. And Microsoft discontinues Connect for Asia. So there it is. Actually, that is that's a Connect, the modern day Connect. I
yeah, the
remember
last
when
version.
Longer,
Yeah.
it was longer and thinner and had more cameras than that. It had
Right.
everything. I don't know if it didn't particularly work that well, but it had everything in it. Right. Okay, what was great about Connect was not just the hardware, but accompanying software. So they didn't know what will happen to Microsoft Runtime or whatever
Right.
it was.
Right.
Uh, Microsoft says people can still use it, but it will never be updated, kind of thing. And I lost RMP or IP. I mean, right. New leaks on the Apple Vision Pro. It's yeah, well, you know, since it's released, it was time to leak all sorts of speculation, wasn't it, about what is coming to. But some developers have now sort of surreptitiously, or under the radar as it were, started reporting their experiences in long sessions and stuff. Pass-through is astonishing. Field of view seems good. Twice that of HoloLens. Virtual keyboard is okay to use, but has difficulties akin to other virtual keyboards. Device didn't give any eye strain for the journalist, but after 1.5 hours, he did feel neck strain. Okay. There was some other news on Apple there, and maybe that was later in the week. Incidental news on that thing. Oh yeah, Quest 3 is due out in the autumn apparently, and it may come with a charging dock. I've forgotten the name of who manufactures that Quest thing, but I'm sure most of you can remember.
I can't believe you forgot that. My goodness.
I don't know. It's just it doesn't quite ring, you know.
Maybe
lots of
wishful thinking.
Yeah, lots of four-letter words
Right,
around,
right.
you know, but can't quite remember. Okay, Pico 4 bets on hand tracking. Yeah, they've added some hand tracking too, doesn't everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Frame VR, which we mentioned last week in some context, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Now supports 1,000 users. So this is actually a repeat from what I mentioned on this show last week. Beat Saber, um, their data is enough to track you. So if you're worried about Zuckerberg tracking you, then you better watch out for Beat Saber. They're competing with him apparently. Right. Summary of XR at the SIGGRAPH conference. Again, that was old news really here. This of course came out Monday, so it's only a day or two after our show last week. So obviously, there's a lot of collision here. Anyway, um, SideQuest has a indie creator fund, and anything interesting there? Not really. Anyway, to see this roundup, go to scarredghost.com, SKARREDGHOST.com, and you can expect an update, if not tomorrow, certainly on Tuesday. It's not a bank holiday in Europe, of course, just in the UK here, but it's touch and go whether he publishes on Monday or Tuesday, due to other commitments, I think. Okay, getting on with this. I'm coming down the list here. Okay, Spatial Beats, which you'll find at arinsider.co. No video from them this week, so we haven't got much in that department, but they've got their roundup, and this again is Charlie Fink. This is his early part of the week sort of thing. His headline news is it looks like the Zuck Musk cage fight is over. Well, that wasn't really news, and it wasn't particularly news at the beginning of the week either, but we'll forgive him that. Time running out for Fastbook's 725 million data privacy settlement. Yeah, well, they'll try to put it off to the last minute, but I don't think they've got any choice but to pay it. It's like not wanting your mugshot taken because you're a special person. You can't get away from it, unfortunately. Right, Accio. Not really sure about them. You'd have to check this out. It's enterprise stuff, and it's America, so they get loads of 15 million US dollars in venture capital to do what? I'm not quite sure. AI in the box can be deployed instantly, which is a delight for companies wondering how the hell to use AI. Well, don't try it unless you know what you're doing, boys. Mess with that AI and dancing with fire, you is. Yeah. Right, ZTX opened a sandbox 3D virtual world, and they've raised lots of money too. They're the people that make Zapito, which is a free social media app that people don't actually use, as far as I know. Well, it is there, but I don't know anybody who's ever pointed me to it to contact them. Paris Hilton has not left the metaverse. God, I always think of Charlie Fink. They always say, former CEO and big tech person and everything else, but he sometimes chooses some really fanboy stuff to stick in here. What's a Paris Hilton when it's at home? Right. Microsoft have chosen some 3D camera from Orbeck to combine with their existing technologies. And interestingly, it's built with Microsoft's ITOF technology, and it uses the same depth camera module as Kinect did on Asia. So maybe there is a replacement for Kinect coming
A
along.
future life for Connect. Yeah.
Yeah. So, under a different name.
Right.
Obviously, if they're going to develop this thing, whatever it is, then presumably there was no reason to keep Kinect going. You don't want to have two development platforms for the same thing.
Right.
Something else this week. I'm trying to think what it was. Had a similar sort of thing. They basically had two. Oh yes, it's one of the computer companies that makes phones, not Lenovo, and not one of the big ones, but I can't remember who it is. But they've got two strands. One office, one office is working on one phone and one's working on the other, and they thought, why spend all this money promoting two very different phones? We'll just bin one and put all our stuff on the other one. And probably sack a few people for cost-cutting process. Right, Emmy Award-winning Felix and Paul Studios. We've got Jim Henson, storyteller, The Seventh Ravens. Jim Henson, of course, is the person who way back when was responsible for the Muppets. And of course, behind the scenes, he was also responsible for a lot of the puppetry in the very first Star Wars, which is way back when, when, it's on or George Lucas on the budget, basically. Yeah. Right, don't know anything about Tulpermans. Where do people get these names? Oh, Wallace and Gromit are in the Grand Getaway, blah, 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 from Atlas V. Body of Mine in the World's Gallery. I'm not going to read out the whole thing. You can read it for yourself. But, as you can see, a lot of spatial exhibits and things that they've actually covered in that too. So, moving down. Our friends over at Hypergrid Business, obviously, oddly enough, popped up in the week with this press release, which I haven't seen mentioned anywhere else. I don't quite know where they found it or how they got it, but I'm assuming that it's not an April Fool's joke. They've they say it's a press release, which is kind of helpful. Basically, there are several companies, major companies, are meeting to discuss the metaverse in December. And if I remember rightly, it's in Europe here that's happening in December. Of course, Metaverse Spectrum Business Conference Expo and Pitch Festival will highlight expanding business applications for the metaverse in December. Doesn't say where. Oh yes, I think it might be in the UK. It doesn't say here, but some of the guests are from the UK. Very close, of course, to the Open Simulator Community Conference, which is something we're both involved with. Speakers will be companies NVIDIA, Ernst & Young, Sandbox, Decentralized, and Tata Consultancy. Or is it Tata? I don't know. It's sort of Tata's, well, Tartar sauce is spelled differently, of course. Right. Highlights. UK Atomic Energy Commission are using the metaverse to, I don't know what they're doing, practicing their, what's it called?
Meltdowns?
Breaking the atom?
Yeah.
What's the phrase? Split the atom.
Splitting the atom. Oh, right.
So maybe they're going to split the atom in the metaverse, so it's safe for us. Who knows? But no, it looks like a development of a prototype fusion energy plant. Right, more and more energy. I was reading today, quite interestingly, that they've developed. They don't contain much power yet, but in a few years they can use. Sounds astonishing. They can use nuclear waste. Right, which does not pollute the environment, well, unless you call radioactive pollution, but they can house nuclear waste in microscopic quantities in artificial diamonds. And the diamonds are very hard material. The radiation, stuff like that, doesn't seep out or whatever. And they make these little diamonds can be batteries, but because but they have a half-life of 25,000 years. So apparently, once they're developed, not only could there be a way of using up nuclear waste and sealing it into these little diamond things where it can't escape, but it be able to power things like I don't know what things we use. Apparently, it'd be a long way off from being able to use them to replace cell phone batteries or car batteries, for that matter. But for smaller things, they could well replace, your bog standard batteries. It's really a matter of developing the housing and, something with the different parts of nuclear waste decay, and the decay gives power, and then that decays and gives more power, and it's like a loop of self-generating electricity in the battery. So you never need to replace it. Well, not for about 500 generations anyway. I don't think they're going to be powering sort of light speed ships or anything like that with it for a while, but it sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
To hear as something that actually might make use of something so horrible. Anyway, moving on. A game fan discussing his company's role in the metaverse for Cirque du Soleil. I like their stuff. Okay, that sounds interesting. Um, okay, that might be worth it. A conference on its own. Putting Cirque du Soleil into the metaverse. I mean, of course, there have been in Second Life and OpenStream quite a few sort of fireworky particle effects, sort of things that are of that ilk, for where they take performance and enhance it with everything they can, really. Okay, somebody from Finland who's developing a city in the metaverse. This all sounds rather interesting, doesn't it? And you can register at metaversebusinessconference.com. Registration is free for the content pass, which includes conference, keynotes, working opportunities in the expo hall. And you can watch a short video from last year's conference below. And of course, I actually have that video. But where did it go to? Because it wasn't on the list earlier, was it? Okay. I will see if there's an interval I can find that for us. It must have downloaded to the wrong folder or something. Okay, so you'll find this at hypergridbusiness.com, hypergridbusiness. And it's, of course, it's a press release, so you can probably look up for the links to the actual event. Okay, right, this is the one I was thinking about. The Apple Metaverse. I knew there was something else Apple coming our way. What we know so far. Well, I've never heard the expression Apple Metaverse before. All I do know is that Tim Cook does not like the word and does not use it. So I think I'd better do a cough, cough, cough on this one. xrtoday.com, xrtoday.com for this one. And sorry, croaking here. Greater focus on this space than others with Meta, Microsoft, even Google, and with their own visions. However, Apple's remain largely absent. As I said, Tim Cook won't use the word. They declined an opportunity to join the Metaverse Standards Forum. Well, I must say it would have been nice if they had joined, but never mind. And brands like Alphabet, which of course is the parent company of Google, are still absent as well. Apple hasn't revealed much, but information about an upcoming come off it. It's bad enough you mentioned it in the title. You're going to repeat it?
Yep.
AM, not radio. Apple's approach to the M word, yes, etc., etc. And an interview. Tim Cook describes something similar when discussing the company's future. He didn't say the metaverse, did he? Nope. Of course, the spatial computing operating system, which will come with the Vision Pro Posse thingy. Yeah, I think that was more or less it. Patents hint at the creation of an Apple M. Come on. Well, this is this is a repeatable site, but I think Rebecca Carter has got a fingers twisted on this one, whatever. I'm going to try and be polite about that, but before I say something rude. Right, xrtoday.com for that piece of...
Just using conventional language, unfortunately.
Information, indeed. Right, moving on to roadtovr.com. We know this one. It still pops up occasionally. The XR industry team... come on, give me the thing. Right, okay. The XR industry giants team up to save a key developer tool. Qualcomm, Magic Leap, and Microsoft have had a partnership to guide the evolution of the Mixed Reality Toolkit, MRTK, which is a cross-platform AR VR development framework, which has now gone open source. So that's good news. There's a lot happening with the open source community, and really we want everything to be open source. So when you get people like Magic Leap and Microsoft sort of helping promote it, guide the development of these things, which will obviously cost them some money, probably not very much really, but always good to see, I suppose, is what I should say. Okay. Oh yeah, Microsoft announced that the version 3 is on track to reach general availability for developers in the second week of September. And there's a link to the hub for all about that stuff if you're dev and interested. Right, moving forward to the end of the week now, and we have Charlie Fink again, this time at Forbes.com. This is behind the paywall, and if I didn't have it in the reader here, it wouldn't be letting me read it. But I've got it here anyway. So you'll find it at Forbes.com, Forbes.com. The actual content of this page is sometimes available. I don't think it's XR today, but somewhere has permission to reissue it from, not behind the paywall, basically, but you probably have to wait a day or two for that. Right, so NVIDIA recaps reaps billions on saying, go start that again, please.
Mm-hmm.
NVIDIA reaps billions on growing AI demand. That's a bit more like it. Yeah, AI uses a lot of power, and NVIDIA's graphics cards are frequently used for mining cryptocurrency and all sorts of things. And in particular, of course, now the processing power needed by AI is huge. And of course, you can guess which company is reaping the benefits, as I just said. Their quarter 2 results crown it king of AI. They compare it to others. Their CEO took the stage at SIGGRAPH last month and talked all about it. Another AI startup called Hugging Face. That figures. I presume that's something to do with Helmet Land with a name like that. Raising $200 million US by Salesforce Ventures at a whopping $4 billion valuation. Ooh, that's heavy. Okay, and they provided this image to demonstrate the graphic capability of their new platform. Yeah, it certainly looks like AI, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That actually has no capability at all. Of course, in the US, and I guess it will filter down all the rest of the world, a judge has actually ruled that anybody creating stuff with AI, creating being a inverted commas there, parentheses, you cannot copyright it. Anything created by AI does not qualify for getting copyright protection. So you can play with your heart's content, making pretty images like that. But if you want to make a poster of it, or sort of claim it's yours, no chance, mate, so to speak. And I suspect they can backward check these things, just as they can forward make them. I'm pretty sure there must be some kind of a logarithm that can work backwards to detect whether something is actually AI. In fact, I think it already exists. I mean, people say we don't allow AI and we can tell, it's almost too pretty to be real, Okay, Irreverent Labs, AI company, and working at photorealistic generative AI, blah, blah. Trees again, yes, very nice. Wand AI, that's interesting one. Sandbox, know that one. BCI breakthrough, paralyzed woman speaks. Oh yeah,
That was a popular story, right?
Yeah, it's basically a brain implant that allowed a paralyzed woman to speak as an avatar. So if you can imagine, the next person you meet on Open Sim or Second Life might actually be a paralyzed person in real life who is able to talk to you. Wonderful, wonderful indeed that. Okay, the Brown University, or Brown U system it's called, and it's University of California, San Francisco and Berkeley in a partnership with us, along with Edinburgh in the UK here, speech graphics. Okay, Deep Media, Pentagon, deepfake detection. You remember this thing? The hype cycle. We also always checking this thing for where you are on the hype cycle, but these days, I mean, I don't know, something like Second Life is long gone. It's back there somewhere. It's all AI and augmentation and stuff like that now. What's at the peak, right? This is the famous crowd trough of disillusionment. And most of these all end up down there in the end. So it's sort of well, it's a graphic in it. It looks good. Another graphic. I had another graphic somewhere. I thought, something I'd actually forgotten. I don't know whether it all fits in. Um, I'm just flipping back here again to where are we? That's right. News pictures. I had a couple of pictures here for something. Oh God, I've got a wheelie. Don't like a wheelie. Here we are. Yeah, I thought this was of interest. Oh, can't really quite see all of it, I'm afraid. But this is the definition of interoperability, which I found rather useful. A metaverse platform comprises many virtual worlds and services. However, its integrated services must not exist siloed and disparate so that users can expand the use cases of an up-and-coming metaverse platform. If a platform does not leverage interoperability, it may be difficult for users to move seamlessly between other worlds and for businesses to build services ready for multiple platforms. An interoperable metaverse service will provide global-wide network of link systems to enable it to function, and developers will need to construct it on a web of public and private guidelines and regulations. Many XR industry analysts predict that the M word will have its HTML moment, whereby users can leverage XR online services via a range of metaverse platforms similar to that of a web browser, and users could also use integrated services such as avatar customization across various platforms. Yeah, you can't see the last sentence there, but that was it. That was it. And what was the other picture I had to show you? Oh yes, well it was seeing that graph of disillusionment. I thought of this one. This is just a chart of metaverse interest groups here, and obviously panning them through various points in time, like Smalltalk here, 1972. Or the Virtuality 91, the Matrix 99, then Second Life officially, that is not Lyndon Will, but Second Life 2003, Meta Place following that. I've forgotten Meta, but I don't know why they put Meta Place there. Where's OpenSim? Come on, Meta Place came and vanished. It's odd it's mentioned there. Right, interoperability with IBM and Lyndon, which of course actually was partly the birth of OpenSim. That was 2007. And then by 2010 at the top there, you've got 2012 Oculus Rift Kickstarter, 2014 Scene VR, Janus VR, 2015 Glam and A-Frame, 2016 WebVR 1, and 2018 VRBA, which was a blockchain alliance, and 2019 M3, the Metaverse Makers. I still try and avoid the blockchain-y sort of stuff here, because to me that's a part of a sort of metaverse, but not. But anyway, and then coming down to the bottom here, we have OMI, which is an organisation I check in with once a week for their general meeting, Open Metaverse Interoperability Group, and also in 2021, Facebook becomes Meta, and then Open Meta begins in 2021. That's a DAO, distributed. I can't remember what it stands for. Distributed something organization is what it stands for. And then we go uphill again here. 2021 we got MAD, Metaverse Alliance. Then in 2022 we got the M2 network, which is another Open Metaverse Alliance. Then we got OM, Open Metaverse, oddly enough, 100M in 22 April. In 622, we got MMS, the Metaverse Standards Forum, which is getting quite a lot of mileage. The Open Metaverse Alliance in July last year. I'm not actually, nobody seemed to be quite sure what's happening here, because one of them got sort of connected with Neil Stephenson's project, and that they were going to have a conference, and basically people are saying they're probably not anymore. And then lastly, in January this year, we have the Open Metaverse Foundation. So a load of stuff going there, going for way. It's 1972 right up to 2023. So great graphic there. A lot to be seen in that. I think you'll agree. So I'm glad I remember that. I had 2 clips, but I've forgotten about the pictures. So with that out of the way, let's return to wherever I was, which I believe was there. Yes, there we are. And Gartner have put generative AI on the peak of inflated expectations. Well, it's official, they say. Oh dear.
Mhm.
Right, and oh dear, here we go, Mid-Journey and all that sort of stuff. Um, styles compilations, advertising weekend outside podcast, of course, and blah blah blah. We'll see. Come to that in a minute. Okay, and the only one I haven't covered was at the top here. Well, two actually. And xrtoday.com again, xrtoday.com. Big XR news from Microsoft, AI, MR, and the industrial metaverse. As far as I know, there is no video from them this week. They have a video, weekly video sometimes that has the same title, Big XR news. But anyway, Microsoft's starting to grow their toolkit to debut in September. What else? Magic Leap, hoping to drive the scalability and flexibility of the MRTK3, which is actually, of course, a Microsoft project, all for OpenXR, which is very good indeed. Okay, we're really going to the quotes. Yeah, and NVIDIA. This is basically another roundup site, so it comes at the end of the week, like Charlie Thinker Forbes. You'll find it at xrtoday.com, xrtoday.com. Now, I know all of you who watch regularly know that I'm a big fan of, when I can get around to listening to them, voicesofvr.com. And they go silent. And then a few weeks ago, they published about 40 in a day or something. Well, they've
Yeah.
gone and done it again. They've gone and done it again, haven't they?
Hmm.
I think there's about 40 new episodes
Oh my.
in this week alone.
Wow.
Basically, the latest one I caught is 1270. God, you remember when they were just turning the 1,000th one round? They'll be on 2,000 before long. Venice Immersive has been on too. So, I mean, some of the exciting stuff in the week, in the morning, is going through the YouTube feeds where a lot of the stuff for the films from Venice Immersive have been showing. It's not quite within our brief, to cover all these one-off immersive things online. We'd be here all day if we did, but it's nice that we get summaries. So Liz Rosenfeld was his interviewee there. 3 XR and AI projects, Sex, Desire, and Data Show. What do they have in common, I wonder? What else? Moving back down, Survey of Open Metaverse Technologies. That was a relevant one. Frontiers of XR and AI integrations. Converting dance into multi-channel generative AI. Integrative generative AI into live theatre performance in WebXR. There are lots of mix and match stuff going on these days, and especially with AI and NPCs. In-world AI for dynamic NPC characters with knowledge, memory, and robust narrative controls. So next time you find an NPC in your virtual world, you ask him to check its memory. I like that. Right. You sure you remember properly, Mr. NPC? You don't know. I shall check my memory. Yes, I remember correctly. I have a memory. Oh, thank you. Okay, meet while AI agent with Niantic over Beast AR. Oh God, I can't even read that one out. It's too. I can't even read the name of the interviewee either. Okay, deep thinkers there. 6.2, using AI in AR filters, ChatGPT, and ChatGPT again here, rapid prototyping of Tilt 5 applications. We're still on August the 26th, which is when all these lot arrive, so we better go back a page, haven't we? Okay, using ChatGPT again. The OR panel on the intersection of AI and the metaverse. Now, okay, I have actually published that in the Mastodon video feed some weeks ago, so this is one which, Kent was actually on the panel. Fair enough, but it technically isn't a Voices of VR podcast as such. Still. Using XR and AI to reclaim and preserve indigenous, I can't remember that word, right, languages, and talk on preliminary thoughts on AI, history, ethics, conceptual frameworks, using GPT for conversational interfacing in a VR game, using GPT chatbots to bootstrap social VR spaces with Quantum Bar demo, and come on. August 20, still on August 26th. Using AI to upskill creative sovereignty. XR and AI series kickoff with Evo, our friend Evo there. Again, I think. Oh, no, actually, okay, I must remember to go get that one. I was saying I thought I already had that, but I had a video interview, but I don't think it's the same one. It wasn't with Ken. Right. Kinfolk app is cultivating our archive of Black history, and from book to play, AR installation coloured explores the forgotten segregation. And oh yes, right, we're back on August 16th. Yay. Okay. So as you can see, rather a few. They've actually popped up in the latest listing there. So you can probably do what I've done here, and that is simply go to voicesofvr.com, VOICESOFVR.com. And if you type voices of VR.com into just about any podcast platform and things, you will find it is literally everywhere. So you can get an RSS feed, but be warned, of late, you might end up with 20 or 30 at once. Unlike normal RSS feeds give you a couple a day, don't they? But Ken likes saving them up and surprising you. Okay, so that is great. That is it for the web links this week. And I'm going to move now across to the feed here. Oh, you're banging behind me there.
Yeah.
Right. This is the feed at Metaworld, Mastodon.social, and just embedded links to videos from this week. F Reality are back with one here. Gamescom is a major sort of games and VR sort of thing happening in Europe somewhere. I forget where. I think it's just about over now. In fact, I saw one of the guys from Mixed Realities tweeted about half an hour before we came on there. Say, just landed in London. I love it here.
Nice.
He said that's only he obviously hadn't been here before, and it's probably just because it's busy and carnival's on, even though it's not at the airport. I don't know, but anyway. Yeah, so an episode there. This is basically they all sort of get together and gossip.
The VR one is going to be, it's really cool. Like, it's so, the way that they used volumetric capture to bring the guests into.
Right. You wouldn't even know where to start with some like interesting talk. I mean, if you're interested in virtuality and stuff, this is a good podcast. You got to remember that they're probably more gamers than they are sort of virtual world people, but it's serious talks. There's a good listen. As of course is Charlie Fink yet again with Ronnie Everett and Ted Schilowitz, and usually quite a long intro advert as well. Their guest is Anurupa Ganguly, who's the founder of Prisms. And
this episode of our This Week in...
Yes, I know.
As I said, not too dramatic. NVIDIA announced its results 2 days ago.
So for the second week running, they're announcing the fact that there's not very much news. I could have told them that. Well, they told me that too, didn't they? So you get the idea. This one's a bit unusual. Hamlet Orr being interviewed yet again on a podcast called, The Metaverse That Matters is his actual book. Plutopia News Network. And this is actually very sort of informal, and Hamlet actually apologizes that I think he only realized 30 seconds before he went on air that he was going to be on video. And said apologies for the disheveled look.
In addition to that,
we may stray into other territory, including his previous book. He's written about digital culture, he's written about the metaverse, and he's been writing about that stuff for many years, going back to when he was an embedded journalist in Second Life,
etc.
with being sensitive to the high
user online game called The Sims Online from Will Wright, the famous game designer. And
Well, he has got a book out, so promoting it all over the place is probably good. I mean, his interview by Philip Rosedale interviewed him a couple of weeks ago, I think it was, which is a nice long sort of 2-hour involved talk, which is great actually. Right, and then we have the return of the one we like returning to. And I will leave the review of this to James because he's a big fan of his. If you saw it.
I didn't see that one come out, so yeah, I've missed it. I didn't watch Charlie, and I didn't watch. I was watching their channel, and I didn't see them post this, so I'll have to go back.
Oddly enough, I got a notice from YouTube at the moment this went live. And for once, I actually watched a bit of it live.
Okay.
And then, I was looking. I know a couple of times I've seen your name in the chat window in the YouTube audience thing. So I was like, well, hang on here and see if my mate James is in there.
No, James missed
no,
it.
he wasn't.
Yeah.
Okay, it was standard fare. I mean, it's good to see them back, but they're looking at this new Pico 4 or whatever, and I think the nice discussion here is really, do controllers have a future? Pico are following Apple with the hand tracking idea. So the idea is you move your hands around. With Apple, of course, you can talk, the commands you want, and you can flap your hands, and you can even type on a virtual keyboard. Basically, you don't need a mouse. You don't need. Still need a microphone, and potentially, I don't know if there's a microphone in the helmet. Obviously, you don't need a camera because the camera is built into the Apple Vision thing. But it's it's the dawn of spatial computing, where people always used to say, talk about the web of things, the Internet of Things, and said, someday you will not know there's a computer. You're interacting with a computer. There will be everything will be online and seamless, and it will also disappear from your focus. You'll no longer sit down and think, I'm working on the computer. You will just issue commands and gestures, and it will just happen. For all that to come together, it's a long way off, and whether the interface for that is actually virtual world type thing, or whether it is simply totally invisible. You open the fridge and you tell your fridge, change radio stations or something. Your commands will literally be everywhere. Obviously, it will require a lot more intelligence than Amazon have put in their thing. It'd be the invisible web that holds it all together. And of course, that's pros and cons. If we're able to do everything and it's all invisible to us, we won't need helmets anymore. Even it will be sensors that know our gestures and everything else. And we worry now about privacy. At least we can see where we're going, well, not totally, but we have some idea of we might be clicking on something that's I get an alert every time I click on a link that tells me that the site I'm about to go to may and probably is tracking me. If I go here, I will be tracked. Do you want to go here? So that'd be in the future. Maybe that'll be a disembodied voice saying, do you want to watch that show? it's going to brainwash you.
Oh,
I don't know, but you get the idea. Anyway, yeah. So they were they were asking whether controllers have a future, and I think I think the answer is no, they don't.
yeah,
But
I agree.
they will be around for a considerable amount of the future. Sorry, James, I interrupted while you were there.
Oh no, I was just saying I really enjoy going into VR with just my hands and not the controllers. But
Yeah.
you know, if I were going into VR to do some architecture, I'm just not sure I could position objects sufficiently with my hands. So I think some kind of an advanced control device is still going to be necessary for certain applications. But just using VR as a communication and a entertainment space, using hands is great.
Yeah.
I really like that.
I would tend to agree. I mean, it's sort of yeah, I think it's also down to people's tactile ability for various things. I mean, if the use of hands is seamless from the way you're moving your real hands outside of the helmet, um, that is good. But for example, I mean, you know, I'm getting on now and I'm almost dyslexic with some things, but you know, I always used to be able to position something on a board or a piece of paper or you know, or something to be printed or whatever. And I never measured the center because I could always see it. I was always good at that. You know, I could get
Okay.
perfect right. Where, you know, I'd take the thing, I'd look at my edges and the edges beyond and plonk. And nobody would ever come up to me and say, that's not centered. You know, I'm more likely to get it wrong now, but that's because my hands are a bit more shaky.
Hmm.
But I think, you know, if you have, you know, firm hands and stuff like that, it'd be okay. And your reference to architecture and things is very geometric based, which actually is probably easiest for positioning. But the curious thing I find is molecular scientists who use VR not because they're dealing with molecules, they can go into a level of molecular activity that they can't possibly see other than through a microscope. And of course, in the microscope, they can't interact with it. But they can move and mold positions of molecules together to form, I forget what the name of it, or molecules together form something else and take molecules
Molecules make
apart.
compounds.
Yeah, and then take molecules apart. You've got, is it atoms or next? I don't know, but you know, the thing is all that subatomic type of thing. In VR, it's mapped accurately. It's totally real, but you can actually use tactile manipulation rather than just looking at Microsoft and jot down notes about what connects with what. And I just find that's fascinating. A friend of mine, actually, his son, if I was right, well, I haven't seen him for about 20 years, but he grew up to be a molecular scientist, and I'd be fascinating if I ever met him again to find out, you know, that stuff. It just, I'm no scientist, but the idea that you can, you know, it's using VR as a zoom in, zoom out. Sort of a magnifying glass thing, really.
Hmm.
The endless zoom, you know. I mean, the closest thing, of course, we've had for a long while to that is fractals, where you can move into fractal dimensions of it. You know, you can take a leaf and zoom in photographically and zoom in and in and in and in and regenerate fractals. And it's all mathematically worked out. But of course, everybody thought it was just psychedelic fun, which it was.
Hmm.
But you know, I asked Rosedale this at one point. He was before Real Media, where he was working on video compression and audio compression. He was looking at image compression because that was his big thing. And I asked it, so I just said I had this CD once, which had a little piece of software in it and loads of files that were like tiny 2K files or something. And they were all fractal files. And the moment you opened them, they suddenly became whole photographs, even though this file size was nothing. And you could zoom in and you wait a couple of seconds and it regenerated, it rebuilt itself. And this was all due to fractal compression. And I actually asked at the time, because Second Life, for example, all the textures you see in World, at the time they came from the engine, the platform Second Life, but then they moved it to HTML delivery, which is a bit faster than the texture delivery in World. But then I was saying, well, you know, rather than have compressed textures and things like that, that the world has to decompress, you know, slowly, like they would a JPEG or something like that. Had he ever thought about using the fractal principle as the texture engine in the virtual world? And I don't really know. I got an answer because he immediately said, "Oh, I used to do that," but outside the context of Second Life. But I always wondered, the amount of compression that can happen that way is phenomenal. Um, now, there were sort of some telltale signs. They weren't the full resolution images when they rendered. Um, were I won't say it was guesswork because the crucial information was in the tiny file, but you knew they weren't as good as a non-compressed image, as it were. You know how early JPEGs often had a little bit of artifact where borders joined things, and it was a bit like that. But yeah, it always amazed me that so much information could be generated from sort of tiny files. You know. Anyway, we're not talking about that. It's like image compression generally. You've got your light, like a photograph, a black and white photograph, which is captured light. It's 90% of the size of a color photograph. The other two channels, the luminosity and saturation, are just incidental to the image. Yet you think a color image is so much better. Anyway, I'm mumbling. So, I think that is the last. I'm mumbling because I have finished. He tells James now.
Yep.
That was it. That actually was it for the bits and pieces I had there.
Okay.
So I must say it's a bit of a shame. News clips. No, seventh guest we had and the TV studio thing. No, it seems that I had a clip, or thought I had a clip, and it's probably got files somewhere else. So unless I can see it very quickly, it was the thing that it was an advert for the conference that it was last year's conference, the one that Hypergrid Business mentioned on that link. But I'll just have a quick look. If I have it, it will be in. Good grief, I found something, but it's not the right one. No, is the US headed towards civil war?
Oh my goodness.
It's Barbara Walter, Ted actually. What was it? Who was she? She was Secretary of State for somebody, wasn't she? One of them. Yeah. No, I'm basically looking in all the folders there called arrivals, and I think it must have arrived in the wrong place because it's I've a marvelous system here that I recently rebuilt on on multiple drives and got everything in the right place, and for the life of me I can't find this one at all. Own recordings, weekly live. There we are, MBTV news. Just checking it hasn't arrived loose somewhere. No, must have gone missing. I will dig that up for another week anyway. So that's it really. We won't be here next week, will we, James?
No, we will be. I'm
He's
going to
going
be
wandering.
away.
He's going wandering off again somewhere.
I'm wandering away to
Won't do.
some little village in what's it called? Britain.
Might be
United-
Great Britain. Come on, Great
Britain.
I will
Right.
have you know.
Britannia.
More to the point, England. Forget the Welsh and Scots and
All right.
British. Yeah, England is where you're going to, I think. And yes,
I'm
it's
on
quite
my
famous
way
village.
to merry old England. Yep,
It's quite a famous village, isn't it?
it's quite famous.
In fact, it's a village in a village, if you see what I mean. Yeah. Oh well, have fun. We'll see you back there at least
Mm-hmm.
in 2 weeks, I guess. By which time there might actually be some news to report.
There might be people will be getting back from their summer breaks. So
Yeah.
I suspect things are going to pick up. Although the Kent By, my goodness, where does he find all that information? It's just amazing.
Well, I know. In fact, he is a philosopher. He's very on the ball with all that stuff.
Yeah,
But the big question to me is how he finds time to do them all.
Well, that too.
It's
Right.
not his knowledge. It's just, most of them are too long. I mean, if you played them back to back, you'd be sitting down without sleep for a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it looks more prolific, I suppose, than you know, when you go for 2-3 weeks without any episode, and then you
Yeah.
put a whole load up at once. It probably looks more formidable than it would otherwise, because he's always had a lot. But you're right. You're right. Um, you know,
Another
probably
thing
46
I was going to
pages
say
there.
about the, about using hand interfaces in VR.
Yeah.
It's so funny because I only just discovered that in the Quest you can now use the menus like a phone. So you can take your hand and swipe images and move up and down with your hand, and that is so familiar to using a mobile device. And I don't
Yeah.
know why it took them so long to incorporate that into the interface, but that's a wonderful experience.
It's a good question. I mean,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
Leap Motion
Did
is
it do
years
that?
old now.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, you had two choices. The first one I had,
Hmm.
still have, but I don't use it anymore. Not very often, because I use this connector with a touchscreen instead. But
Yeah.
you could it it worked with cameras basically. You could gesture with your hand to move sideways or forward or up or down. So you could scroll by flapping up and down. You could flip the pages of a magazine on screen,
Hmm.
and your hands worked like your hands worked. I didn't, I didn't even have to touch the screen to
Right.
get the impression of turning the page
Hmm.
like you would for real. So that was a very natural interface. It just took a long while for anybody else to come up with that, but it's the idea that we be away from mice and keyboards and things has been around for a long time, but everybody just
Hmm.
sticks with them.
Hmm.
And I think technically we could move to spatial computing pretty damn quickly, as long as we actually had it operated from cameras and screens as well as the helmets. Um, but I think the hesitation would be people, how anybody who's used a computer for the last 30 years uses a mouse.
Hmm.
It's like an extension of whichever hand we used it with. To say that's no longer needed is a major psychological sort of change, isn't it? Um, I know that I can use my camera to flip down and scroll down the page if I
Hmm.
got the Leap Motion connected. But what do? I use the mouse
Right.
wheel. And in fact, I've got another thing which isn't a mouse, but it's like a trackball,
Hmm.
which
Yep.
also allows me to press buttons to do operations, and again, like scrolling. And I do use it now and again, but I don't use it nearly as often as I thought I would, because whenever I want to do that, I think mouse,
Yep.
and it's subconscious. I don't think, oh, I need to scroll, I better pick up my mouse. It's sort of I need to scroll, full stop. That's how I do it.
Right. Right. It's
Yeah.
intuitive, and
Yeah.
you become, the concept of muscle memory, where
Yeah.
your body is actually making the decision before your mind does.
Yeah. True. Wow.
Sometimes your mind is the last thing to know, the last entity to know what's going on.
Uh, while we're talking, I'm just trying to find. I don't know what happened to that missing clip. It's very bad news for me because everything now saves into the same place, and so I can get to it easy. But for some reason, the one I downloaded from Hypergrid Business didn't. Well, it wasn't a Hypergrid Business; it was a link following from them. Anyway, too late now. So, what is that? Oh, yeah, there's an advert for Amelia Kelman's podcast, The Big Reveal. So I got to pause the mouse somewhere. I should be pausing it on our own logo, shouldn't I? So where the hell did it go to? Can't leave the studio without putting our own picture up, can I? There we are.
There it is.
Finally, there
Okay.
it is. Okay.
Okay.
Right. So we will be back with you 2 weeks today. I doubt if there'll be any major breaking news this time next week. I mean, if anything ever is urgent of breaking, we will, or at least I will butt in out of schedule to deliver any important news. But as James says, it's a pretty sort of quiet time now, and by mid-September and October, we'll be well into the conference season as well, in the Northern Hemisphere at least. So exciting stuff going down there. In fact, quite a lot on OpenSim. There's a sort of like a Notting Hill Carnival, but for OpenSim. OpenSim Fest, that is happening in September. Hypergrid International Expo, which we're involved with, that happens in October. And in December, inevitably, there will be the OpenSim Community Conference, although I don't have a date for that yet, which is unfortunate.
There is a date selected, but you should we'll get an email soon, I think.
Oh, do you know when it is?
I don't. I can't pull it off the top of my head right now. I'm sorry.
For once, I'm working earlier, and I need a date to book the guest.
Okay.
Right.
Well, I'll look it up. I can get it to you. They're not quite ready to announce, but I think they've got it pretty much figured.
Yeah, that's just for me, so that I can approach somebody and say, "Are you going to be available on lunchtime or whatever?" Right. Okay. So, as I said, back in 2 weeks. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Hope we have been useful and provided a little bit of news. And look after yourselves until we return. So it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.
And with that, it's a wrap. We're out of here.